and the pains, the centuries of enslaved people in America. The idea, once the most simple and the most powerful idea in the history of the world, that we're all created equal and deserve to be treated equally throughout our entire lives. We've never lived up to that fully, but we've never walked away from it either. Look, because of members of CBC, I think about the progress we made together in the past 2.5 years. I think of the incredible resilience and spirit of the American people.
We have the most important stimulus news that you have to know, and here it is. First of all, the Federal Reserve is expected to make a big announcement this month on inflation. Economists are warning that any additional interest rate hike could cause many Americans to fall behind on monthly payments. There's another round of stimulus payments too, set to be automatically delivered throughout the fall. Inflation has been a nagging problem for U.S. consumers for the past couple of years, and the Federal Reserve is determined to do something about it. The job of the Fed is to oversee monetary policy in the United States, and its goal is to create and maintain a stable economy. According to Motley Fool, for a central bank, it feels the rampant inflation is not at all a coincidence of that. That's why the Fed opted to raise the rates, over 11 times over the past 3.5 years. But so far, when the Fed does raise the rates, it tends to drive the cost of borrowing upward. And when that happens, consumers spend less, and a pullback in consumer spending is exactly what's needed to bring inflation down. The Fed is set to meet again on September 19th, throughout the end of the year, and at that meeting, it will actually have a tough decision to make, to raise the interest rates for the first time since March 2022. Now, the Fed has come a long way in cooling inflation. In July, the CPI, which measures changes in the cost of goods, was just up 3% on an annual basis. That's not so far off from the 2% annual inflation rate. On the other hand, 3% inflation is not 2%, so the Fed may actually decide that another interest rate hike is needed to get closer to its goal. The extent to which you'll be impacted by interest rate hikes will depend on whether you have plans to borrow money in the coming months. If you intend to buy a car, you may get stuck with a higher interest rate or on an auto loan if the Fed raises the rates again. Similarly, if you're thinking of signing a personal loan, your cost could be higher there. And if you owe money on a credit card, another rate hike from the Fed could drive your monthly payment actually upward. Even the New Mexico governor has actually approved rebates for tax-paying New Mexico residents and economic relief in the form of stimulus checks for those who don't pay tax after $15 million is made available. The rebate can account for as much as $1,000, but as reversed, as married couples filing joint returns and head of households actually have spent less. The rebates will be immediately sent to New Mexico residents, provided that they have completed a tax income return and are not declared as dependent on another taxpayer's return. Eligible residents have until May 31st to file their returns, if they haven't already done so. Rebate checks will be printed and mailed to qualifiers through the end of the year, and relief payments of $500 to $1,000 for people who do not qualify are also given to people who need it. According to local reporters, if your banking information has been changed, you need to file a return form in order to get the money you need.
Should be shared by record contracts for the UAW. And just as we're building an economy of the future, we need labor agreements for the future. It's my hope that the parties can return to the negotiation table to forge a win-win agreement. To continue our active engagement, I'm dispatching 2 members of my team to Detroit, Acting Labor Secretary Julie Hsu and White House Senior Advisor Gene Sperling, both of whom have been involved up to now, to offer.
Biden is also hosting a press conference this week on nutrition and health, the first by the White House since 1969. So this conference will also highlight the need for access to better food, healthier food, and exercise. Over the years, cuts to federal programs, coupled with stigmas over welfare and big changes to how food was made, has also caused a decline in access to food. According to the FDA, around 10% of households in the United States have suffered from food insecurity, meaning they were certain they would not get enough food to feed themselves or their family because they lacked money. And under the White House plan, SNAP program eligibility will be expanded. Children will get better access to free meals, and summer benefits will be extended to more school children.
This is the gentleman from Connecticut. Seek recognition.
To rise and extend my remarks and to compliment you, Madam Speaker Bordeaux, on your service to this great nation of ours. I have very much enjoyed the privilege and honor of serving with you. I also wanted to rise and thank the clerk's office for all the work that you do day in and day out. Pardon?
Is the gentleman seeking to address the House for 1 minute?
Yes, I am. I seek to
objection, the gentleman is
revise and
recognized
extend
for
my
1 minute.
remarks and repeat again, Madam Speaker, how much I have enjoyed working with Speaker Bordeaux and for her service to her country.
I know many Americans have been anxiously waiting for Congress to approve new pieces of legislation that will boost the monthly benefit payments. Nearly 9 in 10 Americans ages 65 and older currently receive the Social Security benefits, and the program represents an important source of income for the vast majority of those beneficiaries. So for that reason, many seniors on Social Security are awaiting 2 important pieces of information. The first is the COLA for 2023, and the second is the Medicare Part B premium for 2023. The Social Security Administration implements a COLA each year to protect the buying power of benefits from inflation, but the Social Security Administration system is not perfect, and for instance, it enacted a 5.9% COLA in 2022, but inflation has topped 5.9% every month since that decision was made, meaning seniors effectively took a pay cut this year. On the bright side, the Senior Citizens League estimates that seniors will receive an estimated 8.7% of COLA in 2023. That's the largest COLA in the last 40 years. In that scenario, the average retired worker will receive an extra $145 a month. However, the official COLA cannot be calculated until December, and so inflation data is not available yet. The average monthly Social Security benefits for retirees was recently around $1,600, or about $20,000 per year, and that average is around $1,700, and so this is plenty of money for people to collect for fuel and pay their bills. But a new proposal would also change the way the benefits are calculated and potentially putting more money into the pockets of beneficiaries. Democratic Representative John Larson has introduced a legislation called Social Security 2011. Its new bill, everybody, would also, among other things, would discontinue the use of the CPIW to determine your Social Security benefits. Instead, the bill would also change the calculations based on the Consumer Price Index for elderly, which places greater emphasis on the cost for food, housing, apparel, and medical care. The bill would also provide a benefit bump for current and new Social Security beneficiaries, including those who are receiving retirement, disability, or dependent benefits. The Department of Finance is now working on getting relief for the next round of people who may have been exempt from filing due to income level, pension, or Social Security. Many economists, as well as the Fed, noted the bank's newfound caution following the turmoil would likely drag on the economy. The high cost of living is causing financial headaches for millions of people. That is why many states and cities have approved new relief. There is a $5 million fund from which Americans could get much needed $500 stimulus checks. Everybody, listen up. It's important now. This is happening in the state of Missouri, specifically in St. Louis, and the checks are directed at families with low income. The mayor, who was one of the most people affected by this crisis, said that the people in the city and state have already a plan to send cash to hundreds of families, if not thousands, who were going through a tough time. The bill was presented and is calling for the state to spend $5 million in funds that are coming from the federal crisis stimulus package. There are surges